Imagine a world where sibling rivalry takes a deadly turn. Picture the first family drama in human history, Cain and Abel. Not just brothers, but symbols of an epic struggle that goes beyond jealousy. Ever wondered what really drove Cain to kill Abel? Most people think they know, but there's a twist that changes everything. Could it be that this ancient story holds secrets we've overlooked for centuries? What if the real reason Cain killed Abel is something far deeper than simple envy? Let's dive into the untold mystery behind the most shocking act in the book of Genesis. Ready to uncover the truth? Let's kick things off with the foundational aspects. The story of Cain and Abel is one of the earliest and most compelling narratives in the Bible, specifically found in the book of Genesis. It's a tale that, on the surface, seems simple but is laden with layers of meaning and significance. Cain and Abel are the first two sons of Adam and Eve, the original human beings created by God. Abel works as a shepherd, tending to his flock of sheep, while Cain is a farmer, cultivating the land. The pivotal moment in the story occurs when both brothers make offerings to God. Abel offers the choicest parts of his firstborn sheep, while Cain presents some of his crops. For reasons not fully explained in the Genesis text, God favors Abel's offering over Cain's. This divine preference sets off a chain of unfortunate events. Feeling spurned and dejected, Cain's emotions spiral into a dangerous mix of jealousy and resentment. Despite a warning from God to master his emotions and resist sin, Cain succumbs to his darker impulses. He invites Abel out into the field and, in a fit of rage, kills him. When God inquires about Abel's whereabouts, Cain responds with the now iconic line, "Am I my brother's keeper?" This question, dripping with defiance and evasion of responsibility, highlights Cain's lack of remorse. As a consequence, God curses Cain, condemning him to a life of wandering and hardship. To ensure Cain's prolonged suffering and to prevent him from being killed in vengeance, God places a protective mark on him. This story has been handed down through generations as a moral lesson about the perils of jealousy, anger, and the failure to control one's emotions. So, why did Cain kill Abel? The traditional interpretation is relatively straightforward. It's about jealousy and envy. Cain couldn't handle the fact that God favored Abel's offering over his. This sense of rejection and inadequacy festered within him until it culminated in an act of violence. In many religious texts and sermons, this story serves as a cautionary tale about the destructive nature of envy and the importance of mastering one's emotions. Yet, this simplistic explanation leads to several probing questions. Why was Cain's offering less acceptable to God? Was Abel's sacrifice more genuine or valuable in some way? Or was there a deeper, more nuanced reason behind God's preference? Some theologians suggest that the issue wasn't the offerings themselves, but the intentions and hearts behind them. Abel's sacrifice came from a place of sincere reverence, whereas Cain's might have been more about fulfilling an obligation without genuine devotion. This story has been scrutinized to explore how jealousy can escalate into something far more dangerous. It's not just about a single act of violence, but a reflection of how unchecked negative emotions can corrupt a person's soul. Cain's inability to cope with his feelings of rejection led him to commit an irreversible act, forever altering his destiny and that of his family. Throughout history, the Cain and Abel story has been fertile ground for theological and philosophical debate. Different religious traditions offer unique perspectives on what this story signifies. In Judaism, the narrative is often seen as an exploration of free will and moral responsibility. Cain had the choice to master his sin, but he chose not to, highlighting the human capacity for moral failure. Christian interpretations frequently view the story through the lens of sin and redemption. Cain's actions are seen as a manifestation of original sin, the inherent flaw in human nature. Abel, on the other hand, is sometimes viewed as a Christ-like figure, a righteous man who is unjustly killed. This interpretation underscores the themes of sacrifice, justice, and divine judgment that are central to Christian theology. Islamic perspectives add another layer of complexity. While the Quran does not provide as detailed an account as the Bible, it does mention the story, emphasizing the moral lessons of brotherhood, justice, and the sanctity of life. In Islamic teachings, Cain's act is a grave sin, and Abel's death serves as a reminder of the consequences of letting jealousy and anger go unchecked. To fully grasp the significance of the Cain and Abel story, it's crucial to consider the cultural and historical context in which it was written. The narrative comes from a time when agrarian societies were emerging, and the roles of farmer and shepherd were both vital yet distinct. Some scholars suggest that the story reflects the tensions between these two ways of life. Cain, the farmer, represents the settled agricultural community, while Abel, the shepherd, symbolizes the nomadic pastoralists. This cultural backdrop adds another dimension to the story. It's not just about two brothers, but about two different lifestyles and the inevitable conflicts that arise from their coexistence. The preference for Abel's offering could be seen as a reflection of societal values at the time, where pastoralism might have been viewed as a more noble or pure way of life compared to agriculture, which involved more manipulation of the natural world. Understanding the historical context also helps us see how this story has been used throughout history to justify various social and moral norms. In ancient times, narratives like these were not just religious teachings but also tools for social cohesion, reinforcing the values and hierarchies of the time. By examining the cultural and historical layers, we can better understand why this story has endured and continued to resonate through the ages. The story of Cain and Abel is rich with symbolic and allegorical meanings that go beyond the literal events. One of the most prominent symbols is the contrast between the brothers' offerings. Abel's sacrifice of a lamb and Cain's offering of crops can be seen as representing different aspects of human existence. The lamb symbolizes purity, innocence, and a direct relationship with God, while the crops symbolize human effort, toil, and the manipulation of nature. Another significant allegory is the idea of brotherhood and its inherent responsibilities. When Cain asks, "Am I my brother's keeper?" he is essentially questioning the very notion of moral responsibility towards others. This question has been interpreted in various ways, but it generally underscores the importance of community and the ethical obligations we have towards one another. The story also delves into the concept of divine justice. God's reaction to both brothers' offerings and the subsequent punishment of Cain highlight the themes of fairness, accountability, and the consequences of one's actions. These symbolic elements serve to teach moral lessons and provoke thought about the nature of human relationships, morality, and divine will. From a psychological perspective, Cain's actions can be analyzed through the lens of emotional and cognitive processes. His jealousy and subsequent rage are classic examples of how negative emotions can cloud judgment and lead to destructive behavior. Modern psychology might explore Cain's inability to cope with rejection and his subsequent emotional dysregulation as factors that contributed to his violent act. Sociologically, the story of Cain and Abel can be seen as a reflection of family dynamics and societal expectations. Cain, as the firstborn, might have felt an inherent pressure to succeed and gain approval, which was shattered when his offering was rejected. This familial context adds another layer to his emotional turmoil. Additionally, the societal norms and values of the time, which might have favored certain types of offerings over others, could have exacerbated his feelings of inadequacy. Moreover, the narrative highlights the broader social implications of individual actions. Cain's crime is not just a personal failing but an act that disrupts the social fabric, leading to his ostracization and a life of wandering. This can be seen as a commentary on how individual transgressions affect the community and the importance of social cohesion and moral order. Delving deeper into the psychological dimensions, Cain's actions can be interpreted through various theories and frameworks. For instance, from a Freudian perspective, one could argue that Cain's violent outburst was a manifestation of repressed emotions and unresolved sibling rivalry. Freud's theory of the Oedipus complex might also be relevant here, suggesting that Cain's jealousy towards Abel could stem from deeper, unconscious desires and conflicts. Modern psychological theories, such as cognitive behavioral approaches, would likely focus on Cain's thought patterns and emotional regulation. Cain's inability to process his feelings of rejection and his subsequent catastrophic thinking led him down a path of destructive behavior. This perspective emphasizes the importance of cognitive restructuring and emotional regulation in preventing such violent outcomes. On the sociological front, the Cain and Abel story offers a lens through which to examine the impact of societal norms and family dynamics on individual behavior. Cain's role as the firstborn in a patriarchal society might have come with certain expectations and pressures. His failure to meet these expectations, as symbolized by God's rejection of his offering, could have triggered feelings of inadequacy and resentment. Furthermore, the narrative highlights the role of societal values in shaping individual actions. The preference for Abel's offering could be seen as a reflection of societal norms that valued certain types of labor or devotion over others. This societal backdrop adds another layer of complexity to Cain's actions, suggesting that his feelings of rejection and jealousy were not just personal but also socially constructed. The story of Cain and Abel is replete with ethical and moral lessons that have been interpreted and reinterpreted over the centuries. One of the most enduring lessons is the idea of moral responsibility and the consequences of one's actions. Cain's rhetorical question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" underscores the importance of ethical responsibility towards others. This question has been a focal point for discussions about social justice, community responsibility, and moral accountability. Another ethical lesson is the idea of divine justice and the consequences of sin. God's reaction to Cain's crime highlights the themes of justice, fairness, and accountability. Cain's punishment, a life of wandering and hardship, serves as a reminder of the consequences of moral transgressions. This theme resonates with the broader ethical. So now that we've unraveled some of the deep, hidden layers behind why Cain might have actually killed Abel, let's take a moment to reflect. Isn't it fascinating how a story we've heard 1,000 times can still hold so many secrets? Think about it. Jealousy, divine favor, and the complexity of human emotions all playing a part in one of the oldest tales of sibling rivalry. But here's the kicker. What if there's more to this story than we've even discussed? What if Cain's actions were influenced by something or someone else entirely? Could there be a missing piece of this ancient puzzle that we've yet to uncover? Imagine if the answer lies buried in another part of the Bible, or perhaps even in ancient texts that have been lost to time. Here's a thought to chew on. What if Abel wasn't as innocent as we've been led to believe? What if there were hidden motives and secrets on both sides of this tragic story? Could Abel have done something that provoked Cain beyond what we've been told? And let's not forget the bigger question. How does this ancient story of Cain and Abel relate to us today? Are there modern-day Cains and Abels in our lives? And what can we learn from this tale to prevent history from repeating itself? So, before we wrap up, I want you to ponder this. If you were in Cain's shoes, feeling overshadowed and desperate for approval, would you have acted differently? Or do you think there's a part of Cain in all of us, waiting to be understood and redeemed? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Who knows, your insight might just unlock the next mystery we dive into. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future explorations into the epic stories and mysteries of the Bible. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, every story has more than one side. What will you discover next?